Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll start this Bava daf Mem. We're going to begin on Mem Amud Alpha, about 8 lines from the top by the 2 dots. Tarabanan. Apitrapasim Mishalmin min Haliyah ve'in Mishalmin Koifer. So we were learning in yesterday's daf that an apitropos is someone who's appointed for Yisoimim while they're young to oversee their affairs. And we discussed in the event that this Yosum's shore did damage, that the din is that if it is already a mu'id, so then the apitroposin we would actually collect min hali. And there was a question: do we collect from the Simons estate, or maybe we collect from the actual apitropos, which is a problem because they may never want to be doing this job if they always think that this may happen. So maybe we'll collect from them, but then once the Yisraelim get older, they'll be reimbursed. So we say that they will collect min haliyav in mishalmin kaifer. However, they're not going to have to pay the kaifer, says Rashi. Heichid dehemus es adam, where their shore killed someone, then we do not collect. So man Tana, who is the Tana? Kufar kapara. The whole reason why kaifer needs to be paid is because kufr is kapara. It's an atonement when you killed someone. However, the Yisraelim are considered la b'nei kapara ninhu. They're not under this category of b'nei kapara. So here is question 14. Umadua kishehem shorshulhem adam pater mekaifer. So it's because pater mekaifer the kufr. The kaparahi v'chayr shalat avchata la b'nei kapara ninhu, because they are not b'nei das, so you cannot hold them accountable to say that they there has to be a kapara for such individuals. Okay. Weiter. Kufar kapara v'yasmi la b'nei kapara ninhu. And that's brought down in Gemara Makos, the beginning of Masechta Omer Rav Chisda Rav Shmuel ben Oishu Rav Yochanan ben Broikahi. The Sanya, it's like this opinion. The sign of an Osan opinion nashai that when it comes to an animal that kills a person, we have to pay kaifer? Is it the main nizik? We look at the person that was killed. You actually have to look at the value of the owner of the ox. So my lab haikmivgi is identical to the Gemara Makos. The Rabbanan Savri kofar mamoina. The reason why you pay the main nizik is kaifer's mamoin, so you have to pay the value of that person. Rabbi Shmuel ben Oishel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, Savar Kufar Kapara. And that's why it's the main Masik. Lo Omer Rab Papa, no, not necessarily. Lo Dekoli Alma Kufar Kaparahu. Maybe everyone says it's a kapara, so then why would it be you pay for the nizik? But Hachabu Kamifagi. Rabbanan Savri ben Nizik, Shemina Rabbi Shmuel no, Shel ben Rabbanan ben Brocha, Savar Kubana Masik, Sheminan. It's just machlokas is totally how do we evaluate the payment? By the nizik's value or the mazik's value. But maybe everyone holds kufar kapara. Okay. Right. Okay, weiter. So my time to Rabbanan. So why do Rabbanan say what they say, that it's totally by the nizik? Because they say like this, Nemra Shi Salamat, that says the placing below, Nemra Shi Salamala. So Malaholan ben a nizik, Avkan ben a nizik. Says Rashi, Leinin demei vladois. Kasher yosis alav bal isha. So it says that, and we know that you paid the demei vladois, the value of the person, the fetus that was killed, which is demei not nizik. So to over here, it's the same thing. When the pasuk says b'muah shehemis im kafir yushas alav, therefore that's the reason why it's demei nizik. Malaholan ben nizik, Avkam ben nizik. Rabbi Shmuel ben Oisha, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broika, Savar ben Nasan pidyon nafshuk siv. Says you're supposed to give the pidyon of your nefesh. Rabbanan in, you're right. Pidyon nafshuk siv is what it says. Miu ki shaminan ben nizik shaminan. But still, we evaluate based on the nizik. Okay. Mishabeach le Ravo Rav Nachman. So he was praising Rav Nachman. Mishabeach Ravo was praising Rav Nachman. But Rav Acha bar Yaakov, The Adam Gadol who said this is a really great person. So Malay, oh really is an Adam Gadol because Shiyavol Yadach. When he comes to your hands, Haviyeu Yadi, bring him to me because I would love to be able to see this Adam Gadol. Kiyasa. So when Rav Nachman came, Gabe Malay Boymine Milsa, asked me a question. So Boymine Shorshel Shnei Shultan Ketzad Mishalman Kaifer. Let's say you have an ox rather that kills a person, but this ox belonged to two different people. So how do you pay koifer in that situation? Mishalim high koifer v'high koifer. So maybe each one has to pay a full koifer. No, because koifer echad amarach one shnei koifrin. You can only pay one and not two. Says Rashi, the bishlam and nizakin high polygon misham high polygon misham. If it's damages, so each one pays half of the damages. That's not a problem. Because the hazeka the nizik kapad rachmana, so that makes sense. However, when it comes to kufr kapara, so it's totally on the mazik, and both of them need kapara, not chatzi kapara. So what do you do? So you can't say that each one pays full because it's kaifer echad or rachman v'lo shnei kaifer. So high chatzi kaifer v'high chatzi kaifer shalom or rachman v'lo chatzi kaifer. Let's say each one pays half, then that's not kapara. So what do you do? Mamanav shach, you're in trouble. So Adi Yosef become ayin bo when he was sitting and thinking about it. Armalei Tanan. We learn later on in a Mishnah, chayiv archin. When it comes to the chayiv of archin, memashkin in oisan. So we can take a mashkin. Says Rashi, gizbar hektish givan the lava kapara asi mishahile. Because the problem is because this person is not trying to do this for kapara, so therefore he may not necessarily pay his vows as quickly as he could because he doesn't have that incentive because he doesn't need a kapara. He just did it, let's say, free willingly. So for that reason, the gizber can take a mashkin from him. Again, for the same reason, because this person needs a kapara, we know he's not going to typically delay, so there's no reason to have to collect the mashkon because you know he's going to end up giving it soon anyway. So chavi kaifrin mai. When it comes to someone who's chayiv kaifer, what's the din? Givan the kapara who, since he needs kapara kechatas asham dami, so therefore because of that mechmer chamer lie, he's going to be strict upon himself a label mashkaine, and he's not going to take a mash. You don't need to take a mashkin. He's going to pay the kaifer. O Dilma Kivan Dolcharvihu the boy Mesale, since he has to pay a person, not that he has to give it to a Kadosh Baruch Hu as a carbon, but he's paying someone, Mamainahu, it's money that he's parting from. Gavayahu. He's not going to be so strict, boy mashkain, and therefore maybe we have to take a mashkin. Inami. Alternatively, maybe Kivan Dehu, focus on the word who, Dehu lo chata. It wasn't him himself that sinned. It was his ox. Again, he may rationalize and say, I'm not the one that did the damage. Okay, I had an ox that killed a person. It was terrible. It's tragic. But the reality is I didn't do it, so maybe he would push it off. So Armalei, he said, Shafkun, leave me alone. Is Tager Bikamaisa. I'm locked up from the first question. So, says Rashi, Husgarti Venilamti Brushaina. The first question is so strong that I don't know the answer. And certainly, you're asking me this question, a new question. I don't know that either. Question 1. Ma nafkamina diyesh leimer bein im kufr kapar umamayna. What's the nafkamina? So one is the domain is going to be masik, or when it comes to apitropis, that may be ein mishalmin. Okay. Second. I didn't do that one yet. Okay. Great question over here. TB29. Ma hasdadim be'iboya im b'mashkin l'chayvi kaifer. What's the logic why you would think maybe you should collect a mashkin for kaifer? So he said maybe when it comes to Erchin, you collect because the person's not going to be so quick to pay it back. Chatas and Neshamos, they will. So maybe when it comes to Chavi Koifer, it's the same thing because it's for Kapara, so therefore they're going to be strict. Or alternatively, maybe he won't because, first of all, he has to pay a person. He's paying a person back. So therefore he's not going to be so careful. Or he himself didn't do the damages, and therefore for that reason he's also not going to be careful. So let's see what it says over here. Kufr kapara o kufr mamayna. That's not right. Anachnu mikalbun mashkanais rak al davarim shanachnu nefachdim shehu davar kal be'enai. It's light in people's eyes. V'lo asa es hadavar el imkein nachnu mikalbun mashkan. Maybe they'll only do it once we take the mashkan. Im zed davar chashiv oz in srichin lekabel mashkan. It's not exactly the right answer, but it was a nice try. I had a good idea behind it, but it's certainly not the clean answer, as we just saw. Weiter. Tanaban. So shalu b'cheskas tam v'nim samuad. Let's say that this animal is b'cheskas tam, and all of a sudden it turns out you borrowed it, assuming there was a tam. Ends up being a muad, says Rashi. The hizik bebe shoyel ends up doing damage in the borrower's domain. So you were hoping to borrow a nice, calm, relaxed animal, and ends up being this wild, terrible animal. So like this. Baal misham chatzi nezek, v'shel misham chatzi nezek. They split it. The Baal pays half, and the Shel pays chatzi. Why? It says Rashi, Tirusa tam miyam. He at least was makam himself to watch it like a tam animal. Ubalim. So because at least he has to pay for the half as though he thought it was a tam. Who would be based shoyl? Let's say he becomes a muad in the house of the borrower. The returns to the owner. So in that case, the baal has to pay chatzi nezek, and the shoyl at this point, it's out of his hands. Therefore, he doesn't have to pay anything. It says Rashi. We're going to see later on. There's a ksavar rishus mishana, that the rishus maybe changes. Okay, the status. Omer mar shalu b'cheskas tam. So you borrowed it as it was you thought it was tam and muad. So bal mishal b'chatines and v'shol chatines. He split it. Yamai lemalei tor sheili. Arya loy sheili. I borrowed an ox. I didn't borrow a lion. I didn't expect that you were going to give me a lion. It wasn't a lion, but a sharmud is as wild and dangerous as a lion. So why should I have to pay anything? The borrower would say. So Marav hach my skin, because what we're talking about shehikar bo shehu nagchan. It was recognizable. You figured out at some point this was a goring ox. As Rashi, you knew it had some wild streak, but you didn't know it gores 3 times. Therefore, the fact that you see it's a little bit of a goring animal, you should have guarded it, and therefore you are responsible to pay half. So, v'nemele tam she'ili mudol she'ili. Why don't you say I borrowed a tam, not a mud? Nonetheless, ki tam havi palga niska boy shlumi. You'd still have to pay half. So hashanami zil shlim palga niska. So you have to pay half. So v'nemele itam havi mishtal megubo. Yeah, but if it was a tam, I'd only have to pay from the guf, and not from, says Rashi, v'lo mishli, or in the side v'lo me'aliyah. Misham dermuli sub at lav tura boy shlumi lididi. The truth is, again, you're paying me up anyway, since he's a shoyl, since he's a borrower. So therefore, you have to pay me up anyway. So v'neimale. So still, why doesn't he say as we continue to memo mid-base? Im tam havi modina umiftarina. If it was a tam, I could have just admitted, and then I would have been potter. Says Rashi, because we know that according to the opinion that chatzi nezek really don't have to pay anything, which is a kanas, so it might have been kanas potter. So I could have admitted before any Adam came and it would have been potter. So now all of a sudden I shouldn't have to pay because it's a muad. Now I can't get away with this loophole. Might have been kanas potter. Even if it's mamoin that really make our day supposed to pay nezek shalim, but we're lenient and you only have to be chatzi. because it's mumbling. Namely, he could still say, Itam who, if the animal was tame, Havim rikna leil agma. I could have hid the ox in the swamp. Since you can only collect from the guf, I'd hide the ox away so you couldn't collect it. Elohach ma'askina kagayin the akdim beidina v'tavse. We're talking about a situation where it was the basin already came and collected the ox. So since the ox was already in the hands of the basin, this person can no longer say this taina that he could have hid the ox in the swamp. So why does the owner have to pay anything? Nemule, what does he say? At faste with toirai, basin grabbed my shore biyada. Mandoloi metzina l'ishtuye dina b'hadei. So again, you grab the shore from my hands. It's not in my hands that I should have to pay. Mishum di'armulei if I would return this ox to you, the basin would get it from you. So if basin would have given it back to me, again, go back to the question. I could hide it in the swamps, and therefore, if it's a maguf, then I wouldn't have to pay I wouldn't have to pay anything because there's no guf to be found. But you can still say, isn't it from the aliyah that you would have to pay? Because in fact, since it is a mu'id, says Rashi, lav kol kaminoch, lo shulcha, it's not your ox, lo nizharta b'shmirato. Okay. Hanicha hechad islay nichsei. This is only good if you have other possessions. Hechad islay nichsei ma'achem emor. If there's no other possessions, then what are you going to say? So mishum der malei ki hechi dimishtabno lididach. Just like there's a shibud upon for you hachinami mishtamna be'ech. Also, there's a shibud on the damaged party. Says Rashi. That's fine. Rav Nosson. The sign Rav Nosson Omer Menayin Lo Noisa B'Chaver Mana B'Chaver Menayin Shemoitzim Mizem Nesel Mizet Rav Nosson Asher Lasham Lo. So instead of collecting A to B, B to C, A can collect to C. So the shoyel did the right thing by having based and take it, since the shore can go straight to the nizik through shibuda the Rav Nosson. Fine. Who would be based shoyel v'hechzir l'balim? So then, what was the seifa? We said if let's say it became a mu'id only in the house of the shoyel of the borrower, and then you returned it back to the owner, and then it damaged again. So balam misham b'chatzin nezik, they pay half. V'shoyel pater v'klum. So seifa, why is he pater? Is mishus mishana, the fact that it was given over to a new location, so that changes its status, and therefore you're pater, or you pay, in that case you pay chatzin nezik. So reisha rishus ain't mishana. The Reish is talking about a case where it doesn't make any difference. You still have to pay in full. So Rav Yochanan Tavra, it's broken. Mish shanazu or shanazu. Whoever learned this, you can't learn that because they're contradictory. Rabbi Oimim the Reish Rishus ein mishana seifadam rishus ein mishana. Says the Reish is saying it doesn't make any difference. The Reish is also the same. The Sefer is the same thing. So what do you mean? The Sefer says clearly that you should pay Chati Nezik. The Sefer Hanutayima, the reason why it goes back to the status of a tam in the Sefer, Mishim Ti'armali Lav Kol Kaminach Demiyadis Leilatoroi. They can say that is not in my power that my animal should become a mu'id in your rishos. Says Rashi, Lo l'chahaya, it wasn't yours, you were just borrowing it. But it's hard to mishmirasai. So therefore, it shouldn't become a mu'id. So even though it's true, maybe normally it would not change its status to becoming a tam. However, in this situation, because it was not yours, you were borrowing it, so therefore it shouldn't affect me because it wasn't my fault that it became a mu'id, and therefore when it comes back to me, it goes back to the status of being a tam, and therefore only pay chatzi nezek and no more, and that's why the shayel is potter. So question 2. Who would be shayel v'hachzil bal misham chatzi nezek v'shayel potter b'klum? So ma tam de in habal m'chayiv kedin mu'id. Why does it only pay half and not more? Either because reshus mishana, because it's a tam, or maybe normally we'll say Rishus is not Mashana, but over here, because again, it's not my fault that this took place, because after all, it happened when it was you by the borrower, not by me, so I shouldn't be responsible and now have to pay full damages. Shame Baal of Olam. No, that wherever this animal goes, it's considered to be the owner it belongs to the owner, even though it's in the house of the shoyl, and therefore for that reason it has the status of a muad. Sure, it's tadin enuchai mis v'chul. If you have an animal that kills, but it's a killing animal, it's like a bullfighter uses this bull and trains it to kill, so it's not its fault because it was trained that way. So yiboilhu mahu legabi mizbeach. What is the din? Can you bring such an animal as a carbon? Says Rashi, legabi noigeach baratzayin v'hemus adam shita one apostle. Certainly, when it comes to an animal that gores on its own and kills, then obviously it's possible. But how about this? Because this is not really a typical situation over here, because again, it's a trained animal. So that's the kasha. Can it be used as a carbon? So Rabbi Omer kosher, Shmuel Omer posel. Rabbi Omer kosher anasu. It's not the animal's fault, therefore it's kosher. Shmuel Omer posel. Hari nevid boy avera. The reality is, even though it was an inus, but nevera was done because it killed, and therefore because of that, it cannot be used as a carbon. Meisve mina behema says from animals. So haitzes arayve as a nirva. So it's coming to exclude animals in which a person cohabited with. Rashi says, al pi eit echad, o al pi habalim shlo niskol the posel gam mizbeach. In this situation, we do not actually put the animal to death, but because there was only one witness, there wasn't enough witnesses to be able to verify with certainty this is what happened, but it's going to be possible for a carbon. That's one of mina behema, but not all of them. Mina bakar, so hoitzi is a nevid, an animal that was used. As Rashi also about a zar v'shtachloi, it was used for avodah zara. Mina tzayin, hoitzi is a mukse. Rashi says, what's that? Sheyachdol hakav avodah zara. It was designated for idols. All of these animals cannot be used as a carbon. They're all puzzle. So it says it comes to exclude a goring animal, which obviously this one's coming to include. So Rav Shimon im nemar roivei lama nemar noigeach. Im nemar noigeach lama nemar roivei. Why can't you learn out one from the other? They have different qualities. A roivei, a person who cohabited with an animal, also enis karatzin. We say that enis is karatzin. Says Rashi, the nirva onusu, v'niskel karoiveya, v'chsiv v'esabehema ta'aroigu. Even though it was enis, we still would kill the animal. So negech lo asa by enis karatzin. However, when it comes to negech and it kills, we don't say it's the same din. Because, as we said, ki yigach, it's only when the animal kills by goring, not that you caused it to kill. So, that's oinus. And therefore, in that situation, we do not follow the dinim of destroying this animal. Negech misham kaifer. Negech, on the other hand, there's a din kaifer. Rovei and misham is a kaifer. Because the truth is, a roveya didn't kill anyone, so there's no kofar. Okay, so that's the differences between the two. Question 3: carbon so the din of negicha, there's a din kaifer, not by roveya, but by roveya it's honest karatzain. Okay. That's why I mentions both. Ketanimius, but we still learn Rabbi also about honest karatzain. Negech also about honest karatzain. L'mayhel because a lava carbon. It must be tell you that if this animal that is a bullfighter, an animal that tries to kill, because it was trained that way, maybe is coming to tell you that it's only baratzon, but ba'inus you could use it as a carbon. Lo, look at all. It just means don't kill the animal. Hachanam estammer. Di'amr lo carbon. If you're coming to tell you it's coming to talk about a carbon, noigeach losa ba'inus karatzain. Lav inus dideksiv. Lav ratzon dideksiv. El lav katala. It can't be talking about negicha They're talking about, if you want to tell me about carbon, we don't mention anything about oinus and ratzoin. So therefore, the chiluk must be daf when it comes to katala, namely that if this animal kills, but it's because it was trained this way as its oinus, in that situation, the din is it's not going to be killed. However, maybe it will not be able to be used as a carbon. Okay, let's see. Maybe another question. Question TB 30. Shor shenageach v'shar hanirva b'oinus. Ha'im chayavin misa, ha'im ksherim l'mizbeach. So this is what I wrote. Shor hanogeach yesh hevdel bein oinus l'mezid. Leinin misa ve'esh machlokas, or boy, the lishon maybe, im kasher al mizbeach. Hanirva ein chiluk bein shaygeg l'mezid, ve'ein makriven al hamizbeach l'divrei hakoil. I would have to say that is a beautifully framed answer. That's TB 30, which actually concludes that test, which is pretty exciting to be able to say I finished that. And this test was supposed to go to Mem Aleph and Mid Beis. I guess there's no there's no questions for the last daf, which sometimes they'll do that. Okay, I'll just put this over here. And let's see, maybe we have another question. Shol b'cheskas tav v'nim samuid. This is 28. So Baal and Mishal Melchatzi Nezek v'Shoy Chatzi Nezek. And look at B'mar did Tafsua Bastin. We said that the Bastin was typhus, this animal. Madua Yisvu Habalim as a Shoyel Shepasha Shebastin Tafsu. Why can't the Baal claim to the Shoyel that he was negligent, that the Bastin grabbed hold of it? So he answers because this is 28. Oh, there's 31 questions here. 24, 25, 26. So actually, there is the answer. It's very interesting how they did this. They actually accidentally wrote an extra question. Medin shibud the Rav. This is correct. Medin shibud the Rav Nosin hoylo hatfiso biad bastin. So it's interesting. There's actually two 28s over here. 28, 28. Two 28 questions. This was TA. This was 7.5 years ago. This very interesting. They gave two exactly identical questions. So it's because of the shibud the Rav Nosin is the fact that you can't claim, why did you let Bastin take it? But the reality is, again, the Shoyel did the right thing by having Bastin take it, since the shore can go straight to the Nizik through Shibud the Rav Nosan. Adkan.